brother. It was like a lightning bolt struck right in front of you, or like a head-on collision with a comet. A flash brighter than a volley from laser cannons, and our whole ship reared up. Literally everything was falling apart, breaking, tearing. I didn't see exactly, but I could feel the steel twisting like dough for braided rolls, and the air was vibrating from the monstrous heat. Believe me, man, we weren't expecting anything. Absolutely nothing. We had just calmly transferred from the small yacht, you know, the kind that's only for traveling within the moon's orbit, over to our old tub. And we moved the precious cargo. Funny thing is, those little plants only want to grow on Earth, nowhere else. And people love that cheerful feeling of weightlessness everywhere, all across the cosmos. So we slowly get the old crate moving, plot our course, and gradually warm up the engines, just so none of them freak out on us. We're all in high spirits, already making plans for how we'll blow the cash, how many girls we'll get, and just how we'll make it happen. And then suddenly, bam! At that moment, I would have bet my life it was a border patrol lying in wait and firing off a shot from their deck gun. I think I even managed to think about Captain Hawkins right then. And I don't need to explain to you, buddy, what I thought about him. I was ready to bet anyone a kilo of our white powder that he was the one at the helm of that damned gunboat. But in reality, it all turned out completely different. Now, don't pour me another one just yet, man. I still want to tell you a little more. And there's a lot to tell, because in 60 years of flying all over the universe, I've never seen anything like it. Hell, I've never even heard of anything like it. So here's how it went down. Shot. Disaster. I once lived through an earthquake, man. Back then, the ground, people, and space itself would sway. This was worse. Here, a wild jolt tore through the air, steel, tissue, and bodies. It was like sudden death. So brutal and fast that pain didn't even have time to catch up, because before it could hit you, it was already over. No, man, I'm sitting here alive and well, aren't I? Don't drink so much, or soon I'll disappear from your teary eyes. You won't hear a story like this a second time. I told you, everything was ground to dust, but I didn't feel any pain. I just saw a fog, some nasty, yellow-brown, slimy, sticky fog. I could feel it sticking to me like dough. And then someone wiped a dirty window, and suddenly there was the corridor again, the cabins, the dining room with the bar. Even the artificial gravity was working, because I was standing normally on the floor, whole and untouched, in the exact same spot as before. You get it, man? Well, damn, you're a smart one, 'cause you understand more than I did back then. I looked around quickly and reached for my gun, my beautiful laser toy, because someone was coming down the corridor. But I quickly gave up on defending myself, since it wouldn't have made any sense anyway. Usually if you resist, you end up doing 5 times as much time. Say what? Did you read about it? Yeah, they write all sorts of things, but in reality, we didn't have any weapons. Only fools would try to threaten a space patrol with a weapon. Do you know how much time you get for that? And anyway, don't interrupt, because your talking is messing up my narration. No one else but Fat Lulu dragged himself down the corridor. Where have you been hiding, old man? You don't know him? He's the biggest hustler of our time. Right after me, of course. He looked kinda strange. His face was swollen, and his eyes looked even more piggish than usual. He wanted to talk, but he couldn't open his mouth. He rubbed his mouth with his fist, and finally managed it. Come on, let's get something to eat, he says. If the cops are gonna come, they'll come anyway. I couldn't argue with that logic, so we headed toward the big fridge at the bar, but we couldn't open it. Damn thing got stuck. There were still the vending machines, but we didn't have any tokens. Not a single one. I reached into my pocket, where I always kept a few, but there was no sign of the pocket. Plain pants, smooth like a woman's. Damn, am I wearing different clothes? But no, same jacket, hideously stained in the front. We were getting hungrier and hungrier, so we went back to the French. Lulu pushed with all his might, but this time the door opened easily, so much so that Fatty fell backward. We rushed inside, and there... Oh, you'd never guess, not even if you tried for all eternity. Some like mashed dumplings, some kind of mushy slob, and below that, right on the glass shelf, an egg yolk, a regular yolk, just the very center of the egg in its lovely, unbroken membrane. Damn it all to hell. Lulu and I are sitting there hungry and pissed off. You get it? I mean, what's there to be happy about? The cops could slap the cuffs on us any minute and toss us in the holding cell. It's weird they've been gone so long. They're probably snooping around the joint, but with us, there's no rush. It's not like we're going anywhere anyway. The only time they're in a hurry is when they're taking bribes. Otherwise, it's total chill mode. Pour me another shot to warm up, because now I'm going to tell you things you've never even heard of, and you'll be telling your grandkids about it, and they'll be bug-eyed. Yeah, brother. So we're sitting there with Lulu, and then you'll join us too. So we're just hanging out by the empty bar, and in walks this woman. But what a woman! What a rack! That ass! Oh, Jesus! Like a cream puff with whipped cream. Smiling from ear to ear. Winking at us. Already washed up and smelling good. She's got maybe 3 scraps of clothing on, otherwise she's naked. I thought I was going to fall off my stool. I lost my appetite, and I got butterflies on my stomach. Wipe your mouth. You're drooling. I was drooling too. Then 2 more showed up. I'm telling you, it was unreal. One of them had boobs like spare fuel tanks on a coal freighter. But that first one was the best. They all clearly wanted it. So what were we supposed to do? I mean, for crying out loud, you can't just turn a woman down. I took her to the cabin, and it was fantastic. Oh yeah, for a moment it was like heaven opened up. But there was one weird thing. The whole time, she didn't say a word. She was silent, like she was under a spell. She smiled, kissed me, but didn't make a single sound. And then, bro, I realized she wasn't breathing. Come on, man, let's hit the bar. We've already emptied everything here. Let's drink like a shapeshifter with another shapeshifter. I ran out screaming, already picturing myself behind bars, locked up for rape and murder with a sexual motive. Damn it! I couldn't understand why the hell I got myself into all this. Right after our boat got shot at by a patrol and just before getting arrested, you suddenly wanted a woman, you fool? Yeah, man. That's when things started getting weird. She walked out after me like it was nothing, with that smile glued to her lips. She just walked out, just like that. I thought she was messing with me earlier with that breathing thing. You think so? And I got pissed off. I hit her. You get it? Right in the face. She doesn't know. But she didn't react at all. She just sort of rippled, but not in a normal human way, more like a reflection on water, moving with the waves. Or like she drifted into a fog. I don't know how to describe it to you. It lasted just a split second, a moment, and the whole time she kept smiling at me flirtatiously. Damn it! I thought to myself, man, there's something wrong with you. I checked if I had a fever or if my pulse was racing, but my forehead was cool and my pulse, there was no pulse at all. You get it, ma'am? You don't get anything. My heart had stopped, but I was still breathing. I was walking around. I was making love, just like in those old movies from when I was a kid. A pink piglet comes in, wearing a little black velvet hat, waving a lace fan, and moving with the grace of a brothel dancer, says sweetly, "Good morning." Damn it! None of the 3 of us could feel our own pulse. I felt stupid, like I was being played for a fool. And that, man, I can't stand. Someone was clearly messing with us. But who? And why? The cops? Who would even want to pull off a stunt like that? And even if they did, how would you make people see things like that? Meanwhile, our girls brought in chocolates and vodka. The hell with it. Let them not breathe if they don't want to. But that combo? We were craving pork chops, not sweets like a bunch of kids. Our stomachs were growling like crazy. Lulu, cursing, yanked the fridge door open again. And inside, you get it? Packed with food. On the bottom glass shelf, a pile of eggs, veggies, then bread and cake. Up top, him. There was even beer. A feast like you wouldn't believe. We ate, man, and washed it down. We were in high spirits. What are those cops doing to us? We were already ready to head out, satisfied, full, a little buzzed. Where else do they take such good care of prisoners? That's when I felt, man, my pulse pounding in my temples. Apparently, I'd needed the alcohol to actually feel my heartbeat. That's how I explained it to myself back then. I wanted to listen to some music, but I couldn't get the radio to work. The keys on the device formed a solid rectangle with thin black lines that were supposed to mark the gaps between the buttons. But there wasn't any gap there, and nothing could be pressed, not even a millimeter. And then, man, listen, here's what happened next. The rectangle started to crack along those lines. Gaps between the keys started to appear at an even pace. When the cracks disappeared, I was able to press a key inside the device easily, but the radio didn't play. You know what, man? It turned itself on after a moment, like it finally made up its mind. I can see, man, that you don't believe any of this. Well, that's your business. Nobody believes me. But sometimes I just have to talk about it. I feel like it's important. Nobody believes Fat Lulu or Mule either. That's a shame. Someday, people will remember us and our story. Man, now you're really going to be blown away. So first, we heard some garbled, nasty voices that made the walls seem like they were shaken. They went silent just as subtly as they started, and then a pink piglet in a velvet hat walked in. I'll tell you what happened next in a second, but let's get back to our corner, because that beauty behind the bar is way too distracting. Man, it was a shock. I just stood there dumbfounded and pinched myself so hard I actually yelped. But the piglet had no intention of disappearing. At first it smiled goofily, then more and more sweetly. "Where'd you come from?" I asked, as if I were talking to my own childhood. The pink pig made a series of unintelligible sounds. Just normal babble in which I could only make out the outlines of words. After the initial shock, Lulu and Mo burst out laughing. They were cackling like fools. Then the piglet ran away, waving a lace fan. I was completely soaked with excitement, man. I wanted to have some coffee, so I reached into my pocket for a token. At that very moment, I remembered that I was wearing different pants, but the pocket was right where it should be, and it was full of tokens. I didn't understand any of it anymore, man, and I didn't even try. You probably had done the same. The aromatic liquid burned my throat just as the mule let out a warning shout. A uniformed officer walked in. Instinctively, we squeezed ourselves into the corners, even though it made no sense, brother. That's just how I react. I slip into the shadows whenever a cop shows up. You think it's an allergy? But this one smiled broadly. I'm telling you, he looked like he was cut out of a fashion magazine. He started talking in such a mumble that we could barely understand anything. I think there were words like accident, space, love, and vodka in there. I can't swear I recognized them correctly amid all that babble. But the strangest thing of all was that after a moment, the cop just walked away. He didn't arrest us, didn't put on handcuffs. He just turned around and walked away. Man, that was just too much. I started to feel faint, probably for the first time in my life. Mule burst out in hysterical laughter. You would have lost it too, man. Don't pretend. That was just too much to handle. Or maybe, man, we were finally ready to experience the real thing, because everything around us was gradually getting more complicated. It was going back to how it used to be. Even the bar top, which had always been smooth, was now covered in a web of scratches and little scuffs. There was even a burn mark from a cigarette butt I left there a year ago. You get any of this? It's normal. Don't worry about it. It's easy for me to tell the story. I know how it ends. Though by now you should be catching on to the plot. And then that old lady came in, the one who told us everything. She spoke like a regular person, though her words were slurred. But then she started making more sense. You know what she was saying? That she's from somewhere near Cassiopeia. You know, that star way out in the middle of nowhere, and that she just emerged from some subspace during a little trip. As luck would have it, she popped into our world at the exact spot where we were getting ready to take off. All right. But from her side, she could only see the outlines of bigger planets, not tiny specks like our ship. No, little specks like that didn't get in her way at all. It's like, buddy, a submarine suddenly surfacing right under the hull of a fishing boat. And so we got blown apart. And since the old lady didn't that old lady reminded me of someone from the very start. Now, I'm sure it was my great-grandmother. I knew her from photographs, so she didn't like to break things or leave them behind. Especially, she wasn't in the habit of doing that with living things. Just like enlightened people don't step on lizards or break little trees. We in the barge were already gone. Vapors and ashes had scattered far and wide across the cosmos, but Grandma knew how to fish out our image from some kind of background radiation or something like that. Don't worry about it. I don't really know what it means either, but it sounds smart, so it must be right. To put it in plain, simple terms, brother, everything gives off radiation. And you too, man. You shine at all sorts of wavelengths. With our eyes, we only see the outer shapes, but in that glow, bro, there's full information about the object. You just have to know how to read it. So, what could be simpler than catching up to one of our images, of which an infinite number are racing through space, and pulling the right data from it? Grandma, well, not just any old lady, just dove through hyperspace and flipped through our images like books on a shelf. You know what I mean? She rummaged through them like a box of slides. And she picked out our last image, the final one, and reproduced it according to her template. It took a while, because relic reading is a painstaking process. So, brother, the construction happened gradually. Then, the good woman wanted to preserve us, which in our terms means to feed and give us something to drink, but she really didn't know how to go about it. So, she searched. No, don't pour any more. She searched our brains for the strongest desires and started to satisfy them. Of course, she had no idea which ones were the most urgent. She also didn't stop slowly reconstructing the details, and in the end, she wanted to tell us about the whole incident. So she had to take on a form we recognized and learn to speak like a human. Talented woman, right? Brother, I know you don't believe a single word I'm saying, but I'll convince you. Grandma botched the job. And that's just how it stayed. I'm going to live another 200 years. That's what she guaranteed. But all that time, I won't be able to take off my shoes and I'll probably end up dying in them. Because that woman fixed me up with the shoes on, permanently. They're just, old man, stuck to my feet. But I've gotten used to it. Although not washing your feet for 200 years, I don't know if that's healthy. Hey, old man, are you asleep already? Yeah, nobody cares. But one day, they'll come flying in from out there. I'll take any bet on that.